Welcome to a quick Thursday afternoon stream. I have a pop filter on because somebody in chat said I needed a pop filter. I was like, whatever. So I have here with me John. Say hi, John.
What's up? Hi.
And we are gonna do a quick 10-minute. Yeah, I know, right? We're gonna do a quick 10-minute headlines. I was with my friend today for lunch. It's Edgar, and he showed me a crazy news headline that popped up like when we were getting boba, and I wanted to see if I could find it on any of my news sources that I'm about to look up right now. I wanted to hear your thoughts, John, about this. Oh, by the way, happy 1 month government shutdown. It's not happy, but
Awesome.
it has been officially 30 days of a government shutdown. How do you feel, John? What are your thoughts?
I am very bored.
I completely understand.
Very, very bored. I hear an echo. Is it me?
It could be.
Let me lower the volume.
It is John. Yes, John is here with us today. Here, I think this would help even if I'm far away. Let me know if the audio sounds good, chat.
Okay, I think I got it.
You got it, John? So not to burst anyone's bubbles, but Monday is the day where SNAP benefits and food stamp benefits shut down. So hopefully everybody is okay with that. And if you need help, please reach out. I just replaced flat tires today, so I may be tight on money. But if you need food, let us know. Democrats are resolute on their demands despite unions' plea to reopen the government. So, let's see. Democratic senators made clear that they're sticking to their demands as major federal worker unions urge lawmakers to immediately reopen the government, as many Americans are set to enroll. So, November to December, John, is our healthcare enrollment. So, once the government opens back up, if the government doesn't open back up, this is actually a interesting question. I don't know what happens to our healthcare. We automatically get re-rolled, but if we wanted to change like our plans during open enrollment, we might miss it if the government is shut down through open enrollment, which I really hope that isn't the case.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. I think it's November and December. So I mean, I'm an optimist, right? So I would love to hope that that the government isn't going to be shut down in December. Because if it's shut down for 3 whole months, that's crazy. But I don't know, maybe the administration is able to continue to pay essential workers, or they pass a bill to just pay essential workers as people are figuring out other things. That might happen, but that just means for you and me, John, we are still out of a job.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Don't panic, John. Do not panic.
No panicking.
No panicking. We're gonna play Battlefield 6 after this. So who really cares, you know? If you're just joining us, we're doing a quick headline recap before John and I drown our sorrows in Battlefield 6. So GOP senators say staying over the weekend is waste of time. I'm not going to read through each person's things. The VA announces more furlough employees, which, by the way, it's not a waste of time for you to figure out how to pay 1.2 or 1.3 million furloughed workers. That's crazy, right, John? Like, imagine them telling you, like, we'll figure it out later. Like, no.
No, we're not going to be on the weekends.
No, I could promise you that we should make a streamer house drumstick. That'll be so fun. We should definitely a lot of people who are furloughed have told me that like they should just lock Congress in the Senate and House so that they could come up with the bill and they can't leave until they pass a bill, which honestly is a great way to force them to talk.
They're not talking as much as they need to be. There's very little discussion as of right now.
Yeah.
That's
Christy Nome rejects I think Pikers, I think that's how you say his name, Pritzker's request to pause immigration operations during Halloween. Okay. That just, I guess that just means in Halloween you might see armed ICE agents running around. That's kind of crazy. Um, I could hear the other side say like, "Oh, well, like we got to do the thing. Like we gotta make sure our national is security, national security reasons." But I don't know, man. Like in front of the kids is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Um, Jeffrey accuses GOP of policy violence. The unwillingness to find a dime to meet the healthcare needs of the American people, while the Trump administration has offered a significant bailout to Argentina. That's policy violence, said Hakeem Jeffries. They're just trying to play games. Speaker Johnson rebuffs partially reopening the government. Speaker Johnson rejects that passing bill that would reopen the significant part of the government through next year, saying Congress needs to pass a full funding. So I just want to say this right now. I think I talked to you about this yesterday, John. I don't know if you were on stream to hear about this. Like, a big thing, I think, is that they're going to make a bunch of policy demands, and the House is not going to reconvene unless they pass a CR. But now we've completely passed the timeline of a CR making any sense. So now Mike Johnson, is that his name? Yeah, House Speaker Mike Johnson says, we cannot deviate from a number one job and responsibility of the U.S. Congress, that is keeping the government in operation for people, and the simplest way to fix this is to reopen all the government, not just parts of it. Speaker reiterated Senate Republicans voted 14 times to pass reopen the government fully, which is the CR that only lasts until mid-November. And then it looks like Senate Majority Leader John Thune has said he's not open to passing individual appropriations bill. So what this says to me, John, is that Speaker Johnson's not going to reopen the House. The Senate Democrats aren't willing to negotiate. Or they are willing to negotiate, maybe or maybe not, depending on how you look at it. So this shutdown, I'm putting a bet it's going to last till December now, John. Not to burst your bubble, but I think it's December. What are your thoughts, John?
Yeah. Isn't the main concern the air traffic controllers?
Absolutely. They're not getting paid, but I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, literally by next week, I think it's by next week, yeah. By next week, air traffic controllers will miss their second paycheck. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, that airlines stop showing up, unless they do something insane, which is they start arresting people for not showing up for work, which you're still entitled to your leave. Like, that is a fundamental labor right we all have, is that if you have PTO, you are allowed to take at least sick leave. It's probably discouraged to take PTO, but if you just can't work because you need to make a different job, like, that's kind of on them, but they might force people to continue to work without pay.
They can arrest you.
I don't think so. That's just me. I'm pretty sure, because some people are essential, right? Like, you have to go to work without pay. I don't know what the laws are, and I should really look that up. But, like, you can't just say, like, I'm not going to show up because I'm not getting paid. Like, you're not allowed to do that. You're allowed to take leave and sick leave, but you're not allowed to just not show up. So,
I wonder what happens if they just don't show up. That's really interesting.
well, I'm telling you. So first, everything slows down, and Rashad was talking about this. How, like, well, if there's no TSA workers, then, like, TSA lines just increase by like 2-3 times the length, right? So if it takes you 15 minutes to get through San Antonio Airport, it's not going to take you 45 minutes to an hour to get through San Antonio Airport. And that's a small airport, right? Like, think about, like, Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, New York. Like, that sucks. That means I got to show up to the airport if I'm flying 2 to 3 hours in advance.
Yeah.
So I read this yesterday, that Trump administration taps into 3 accounts to make sure members get paid Friday. I'm going to stop here and check to a different news source, so I'm not kind of biased just to CNN. But it looks like, and I was talking to people yesterday, it looks like they're going to pay the military November 1st. So they will get their next paycheck, while all civilians have not gotten their single paycheck yet.
Yep.
And no hate. I 100% understand.
That.
Right? Like, if the military's job is to defend the nation, that's crazy talk if you're not going to pay them. But I would like to say, with a little more context to that comment, like, where's this money coming from? Is this money to help pay for programs like the F-47 that Trump keeps touting, missile defense that Trump is touting? Like, those are things that we got to start thinking about. Like, sure, you're pulling money to pay these people. How are you going to pay for the programs or companies, contractors that are supposed to supply you a service or good, right? Because at some point, you got to pay Boeing. You got to pay Lockheed. Unless Trump does something insane and actually, like, nationalizes those companies to make them, like, part of the U.S. government. But at some point, he needs to pay these contractors, And some of them are scheduled out already to, like, maybe mid-year next year, calendar year, or maybe end of next year. But I would be very worrisome if some contracts and contractors may, like, dry up. I don't know. Like, that's something that, like, they gotta be more cautious about, right? It's because, at the end of the day, John, it's like, if you take it from one place, that means something else has to break, right? Like, it's not like money's floating around just unused. Like, that's not how that works. Let's see. California senators urge Justice Department to withdraw election monitors. Oh, awesome. The U.S. Justice Department is sending in election monitors to observe the state's election next week. Oh, wow. Atlanta is stopping water cutoffs and eviction notices due to the shutdown to help ease the impact. That's pretty cool. Kind of crazy how much power you have. You could just say, hey, let's just not put people in worse spots. It's crazy that people in power have the power to do that. Lawsuits. Oh, here we go, John. This is the one that I saw that I'm shocked that CNN hasn't reported. Refugee organizations denounce drastic cuts made into the /refugee admittance cap. The Trump administration new limit on entries last year's ceiling of 125,000 people under the Democratic President Joe Biden to 7,500 people. So from 125,000 to 7,500 people. Isn't that crazy, John? That is. I can't do the math. That's like how
significant cut.
That's like at least 115,000 people you're cutting. Like, that's insane. And by privileging Afrikaners, I think that's how you say it, while continuing to ban thousands of refugees who have already been vetted and approved, the administration is once again politicizing a humanitarian program. Let me see if there's more news on that. Trump ballroom, misuse of federal authority. We'll talk about that probably later today after we play some Battlefield 6 to get everybody's minds off of this. Kamala voted for California's partisan plan to redraw House maps. Last minute scrambles over pay. Where is it? I guess nobody wants to talk about it, but here we go. 11:34 a.m. So Trump administration is restricting the number of refugees it admits to the country to 7,500, and it will be mostly white South Africans. A dramatic drop after the U.S. previously allowed hundreds of thousands of people fleeing war and persecution from around the world. No reasons was given for the numbers, which is a dramatic decrease. AP previously reported the administration was considering this already. The memo says that 7,500 refugees during the 2026 fiscal year was justified by the humanitarian concerns and otherwise in the national interest. So, we were talking about this, John. Why South Africa? So, if we remember back in like March or April, JAZC, Jaden, but there was a protocol or like a piece of legislation that was passed in South Africa to repurpose or like take over land from white Afrikaners due to racial practices practiced during the apartheid. I need to pull up the exact article for you. So there was this huge push to basically grant refugee status to 100 Afrikaners, and this was in the middle of March during strong deportations, and it caused a lot of tension in the media because it's like, wow, you it's crazy that you're saying that we should not have more refugees because we can't handle them, but then you just let white Africaneers, which maybe they are actually under persecution from the government, but it's crazy that they're white because it just looks bad in 2025. But two, there's like people from like Ukraine, there's people from Gaza, there's people from Sudan. That yesterday I watched a news report about how there's still effective genocide in Sudan. And you don't grant, we're not talking about this, but you made a whole, like, you brought in the press to talk about 100 white Africaneers to be, become refugees, which is such a, like, shocking thing. So what's really shocking is that if you remember that article, and I can find that article later, if you're pulling the thread on this, that means now we're only allowing white Africaneers, a continuation of that policy in March. Some conspiracy theories, some people said like stuff like, because Elon Musk is a white Africaneer and he was kind of the he was the president's right-hand man, saying that like, hey, white people are being persecuted in South Africa. So that is why we have South Africa in this. And that's why it's such I want to pull that thread. That is crazy, right? Like, it's crazy that we're picking and choosing where we get our refugees from. Like, that's not how the American dream worked, right? Like, the American dream is, and John and I were talking about this, like, if you're willing to come to the U.S. and work and get a better life, that's the American dream. Right? That's the ingenuity, the flame that fuels the American dream, why everybody thinks that the United States is so cool to move to, which it does, right? That is, like, what my parents did, right? My parents fled from Vietnam because of the Civil War, and then the subsequent re-education camps, which is just hard labor concentration camps, to escape persecution to come to the U.S. and make a living for themselves. So it's crazy to me, and to think that, right? It's like, wow, like, we're now going to pick and choose instead of saying, hey, here's like a broad net. We're going to review your application. If you're actually being persecuted or have threats of dangers and violence in your home country, like, we'll consider it. And if, the refugee process isn't simple. It's not like they snap their fingers. Oh, it can be as simple as they snap their fingers and you become a refugee, which was proven in March. I think it's March. I might be getting this wrong. Compared to now, where it may take up to, and I've seen reports, 10 years to get refugee status, right? For like people in the Middle East during the Iraq and Afghanistan war, like, trying to come to the U.S. It took them 10 years to get here, and they may literally be translators working for the U.S. government against the Taliban, but so crazy. I just wanted to really hammer this point in because this may get a lot of craziness, but I love being an American. Like John and I work, and we're currently furloughed, but we still love, I still love this country. I still believe that there's that American dream, right? Because I'm literally living in that dream. But it's crazy that we're kind of starting to tell people, only this group of people can have that dream, not you guys. So it is quite insane, right? And people who are refugees, so many of the time, like, there's actual statistics out there. Like, if you're a refugee, like, you really do get pulled up, like, you really do, like, thrive and prosper in this country because it's all about your drive to better yourself and better the next generation. So that's my grand stage. Any final comments, John, before I quickly see what Reuters says and then we go play some Battlefield?
Living the dream.
Right. Yeah. And we're all living the dream, right? Like, I'm able to sit here on Twitch to talk about the news and then play video games without the threat of persecution, right? Like, in other countries, if I did this, like, China literally, like, I don't know if you saw that article, John. China literally has, like, a fine. Like, if you don't have a college degree, you can't be on TikTok and be an influencer and talk about certain political news. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Right?
Whereas, like, here in the U.S., like, I could be 15 years old and my whole goal in life is to prank people and piss people off and get millions of dollars off of that. And I think we all know who that person is. But it's crazy. Like, the opportunities are a luxury, like Drumstick said. It is. It's wild to me. Pentagon's Doge unit to revamp the military drone program, sources say. Ooh, I wonder what this is about. Leading efforts to overhaul the U.S. military drone program, including streamlining procurement, expanding homegrown production, acquiring tens of thousands of cheap drones in the coming months, according to Pentagon officials with knowledge of the matter. In July, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth pledged to cut red tape and assert U.S. drone dominance by approving hundreds of American-made drone models and launching training programs to prepare units for drone wars. I don't think I could read anymore because I need to have the Reuters continue. Like, I got to pay Reuters, and I'm broke. But I know, the drone program may be politically motivating, and people talked about how it targets innocent civilians' lives a lot. But I don't think this drone program is the same drone program that a lot of people would say in kind of the Gen Z generation, right? The drone program that the Gen Z generation really references is Obama's 2012 drone campaign, where instead of bringing U.S. forces into the Middle East, they just flew unmanned aircraft and shot missiles at high-value targets with a questionable rate of, like, considering for civilian fatalities, because I think at the beginning, like, it was just like, oh, we're going to kill 3 civilians? 3 civilians, which that in and of itself is awful, and we should not be, in power of a machine, a program that we just discount human lives to a number. But I think this drone program is really focused on the small drones programs that we see in Ukraine, where there's a lot of news sources talking about how drones are kind of shifting the tide of battle in Ukraine and versus like the Ukrainian war. So, it's one of those things that it's super. I think it's pretty smart. Like I think that's good. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy. We have seen multiple public memos by the Secretary of Defense to streamline production. So I get it. How it's being used in terms of war may be questionable, but it's, I see that. So. What else? OpenAI lays the groundwork for Juggernaut IPO at a $1 trillion evaluation. I don't even know what IPO stands for. Do you know what IPO stands for, John?
I do not.
Yeah, I have no idea what IPO stands for.
Maybe someone in chat does.
Initial public offering, but does anyone else? Thank you, JZC. It's for stocks. So the first sale of stock by a private so they are saying that their stocks, the total net worth is about $1 trillion.
$1 trillion?
$1 trillion. They're saying OpenAI is going to sell our stocks in total will cost $1 trillion. Shut up, Drumstick.
That seems overvalued.
In preliminary discussions, the company was looking to raise $60 billion at the low end, and likely more, the people said. They cautioned that talks are early in plans, including but you know why? I think it's because these are frameworks, right? So it's like, we're starting the talks, and in 6 months we'll actually come to an actual number. But this is like I watch Succession, so I'm super, I have an MBA because I watch Succession, but it is like you saying I think it's worth $1 trillion, and then that starts putting hype on your company so that more venture capitalists or people who want to put money into your company will say, yeah, you know what, maybe it is $1 trillion program. Let's buy a bunch of stocks, or let's make we're going to purchase 30%, 40%, 50% of these stocks because I know that it's going to be worth $1 trillion, right? That is how you play the system. That's how you feed into the hype. As a person that has $0.00, actually, I have $16 worth of income right now due to Drumstick and previously Will Wilson donating their subs. Thank you so much, everyone. That means nothing to us because we could not afford a singular stock. I mean, we can go to Robinhood and buy partial stocks like that. That's doable, but it has very little impact to our lives. Now, unless you have $5, $10, $20,000 floating around, or you're willing to put discretionary funds into stocks, good for you. Go ahead. This may be hype, but that is part of this bigger story I like to call the AI bubble. I don't like to call it. That's what the people are calling it. But that's part of the AI bubble, John. So
I Yep,
look,
buy the hype.
don't buy that. Don't never buy the hype.
It'll be worth something eventually. It'll be worth all these investments at some
It's
point.
like, remember, they're saying it's $1 trillion because they're borrowing $1 trillion. They're not worth $1 trillion because they have $1 trillion. I just want to be ultra clear because I'm gonna clip this and put this on YouTube. Unless they can show me that they have $1 trillion liquid or they have assets, legitimate assets that could sell for $1 trillion, their $1 trillion IPO is all based on the fact that they have $1 trillion on loans. Like, they have borrowed like, people are giving them $1 trillion because they believed that they could be $1 trillion company, which is an insane way to play in the market. Like, insane. This may be the pretext to a legitimate market collapse because the housing market did it in 2008. We saw this in the Great Depression in 1929. I'm pretty sure the same thing happened, I think, when oil and gas prices like collapsed in the, like, is it 1970s, 1980s? So actually insanity right there. Some more interesting news, John, before I promise I'll stop this segment. In I think in the Netherlands, I think that's what Dutch is, right? The Dutch government, centrist, won their elections. So they were concerned that we're seeing like more far-right political leaders make headway into the European Union. No, it doesn't seem like it. A centrist won again. Major setback. And the European Central Bank has kept their interest rates unchanged, unlike the United States, who have lowered their interest rates. So a little bit of twist and turn there, which you would think that means businesses will go to the U.S. and buy more stocks and like invest more in the U.S. Maybe, but does that impact the everyday person like you, me, and the 4 other viewers in chat, or 3 other viewers in chat? Probably not. So with that, I think that would conclude our headlines. We'll